for a new day.
Danke dir für einen neuen Tag.
Thank you for the time you give us.
Danke für die Zeit, die du uns gibst.
And we pray that you would give us your Holy Spirit now.
Und wir bitten, dass du uns jetzt deinen Heiligen Geist gibst.
Help us to understand your word.
Hilf uns, dein Wort zu verstehen.
Help us to see its relevance for us today.
Hilf uns, die Bedeutung von diesen Dingen für uns heute zu verstehen.
And we pray that you help us see what will soon happen.
Hilf uns zu erkennen, was bald passieren wird.
And also want to pray for us that you would bring us in harmony with you.
Und wir bitten auch, dass du uns in Einklang mit dir bringst.
So that we can be ready for whatever the future holds for us.
So dass wir bereit sein können für all das, was die Zukunft für uns bereithält.
In Jesus' name.
In Jesu Namen. Amen.
Okay, turn to Ezekiel chapter 23.
Wir gehen zu Ezekiel 23.
Now, we've looked at these chapters before, and we sort of understand the principles in here.
Wir haben diese Kapitel schon mal angeschaut und wir haben ungefähr so diese Prinzipien verstanden davon.
But I think the last time we were sort of looking at this was before we understood this little time of peace.
Ich glaube, das letzte Mal, als wir uns das angeschaut haben, das war noch bevor wir diese kleine Zeit des Friedens verstanden haben.
So I want to re-look at it because I have some thoughts that maybe help us to see this better.
Und deswegen möchte ich das jetzt nochmal betrachten, denn ich habe jetzt ein paar Gedanken, die ich glaube uns helfen werden, das besser zu verstehen.
But I'm also open to see this differently, but we will see.
Aber ich bin auch offen, das noch anders zu verstehen.
Okay, let's begin in verse 1.
Lass uns in Vers 1 anfangen.
It says, "The word of the Lord came again unto me, saying, Son of man, there were two women, the daughters of one mother." Right? So,
Das ist Vers 2.
two women is referring to two different doctrines, but both come from the same church, right?
Also zwei Frauen bedeutet ja dann zwei verschiedene Ansichten, Lehrmeinungen, die aber letztendlich hier von derselben Gemeinde kommen.
Now, they both come from the same mother,
Weil
right?
sie alle von derselben Mutter kommen.
Now, just keep your place there and go to Galatians chapter 4.
Also mit eurem Finger hier gehen wir jetzt zu Galater 4.
I just want to remind you of this point.
Ich möchte euch nur an diesen Punkt erinnern. Galater 4.
Verse 20. Verse 25.
Galater 4, Vers 25.
For this Agar is Mount Sinai in Arabia, and answereth to Jerusalem, which now is, and is in bondage with her children. But Jerusalem, which is above, is free, which is the mother of us all. So
Jetzt Vers 26.
it teaches us here that the church is our mother, right?
Es lehrt uns hier, dass die Gemeinde unsere Mutter ist.
But in this scenario here, it shows that there's a false mother and a true mother, right?
Aber in diesem Szenario hier sehen wir, es gibt eine falsche Mutter und eine wahre Mutter.
But I just want us to see that the mother is a representation of the church, right?
Ich möchte einfach nur zeigen, dass letztendlich die Mutter eine Darstellung der Gemeinde ist.
So when you go back to Ezekiel 23,
Wenn wir jetzt zurückgehen zu Hesekiel 23,
these two daughters both come from the same mother, right?
sehen wir, dass diese beiden Töchter hier in Vers 2 von derselben Mutter kommen.
Right? It says, and they committed, verse 3, and they committed
Verse
whoredoms in Egypt. They committed whoredoms in their youth. There were their breasts pressed, and they were bruised the teats. and there they bruised the teats of their virginity. And the names of them were Aholah the elder, and Aholibah her sister, and they were mine. And they bare sons and daughters. Thus were their names. Samaria is Aholah, and Jerusalem Aholibah. Okay?
Bis Vers 4.
So, anyway, so Aholah is the oldest daughter. It's going to tell us about her first, and then it's going to speak to us about the one that comes after that.
Also Aholah ist die ältere Schwester und da werden wir jetzt in den nächsten Versen zuerst drüber lesen und danach noch über Aholibah.
But just keep your thoughts that Aholah is Samaria.
Aber denkt dran, Aholah ist also Samaria.
Okay, so verse 5.
Weiter in Vers 5.
It says, And Aholah played the harlot when she was mine, and she doted on her lovers, on the Assyrians her neighbours, which were clothed with blue, captains and rulers, all of them desirable young men, horsemen, riding upon horses. Thus she committed her whoredoms with them, with all them that were the chosen men of Assyria, and with all on whom she doted, with all their idols she defiled herself. So what has Aholah done?
Bis Vers 7. Was hat Aholah getan?
In a practical sense.
In einer praktischen Art und Weise. Also, was hat sie getan?
Committed fornication, no?
No, that's what she says she's done, but I'm asking, what is it in a practical sense?
Also, das ist ja alles Symbolsprache. Also, was hat sie getan?
Yeah, she's been taking on false doctrines, right?
Also, sie hat diese falschen Lehren der Syrer hier zum Beispiel angenommen.
Okay, so verse 9.
Weiter in Vers 9.
It says, Wherefore I have delivered her into the hand of her lovers, into the hand of the Syrians, upon whom she doted. These discovered her nakedness. They took her sons and her daughters, and slew her with the sword, and she became famous among women, for they had executed judgment upon her.
Bis Vers 10.
Now, where is the execution of judgment?
Und wo finden wir die Vollstreckung des Gerichts?
At the end, right?
Am Ende.
Okay, just go, keep your place there. Go to Book of Jude.
Haltet euren Finger hier, gehen wir zum Judasbrief. Judasbrief.
Verse 14.
Dann lesen wir Vers 14 und 15.
And let's just read verse 11.
Lass uns vielleicht noch zuerst Vers 11 lesen.
It says, Woe unto them, for they have gone in the way of Cain, and ran greedily after the error of Balaam for reward, and perished in the gainsaying of Korah. Right, so it's describing the attributes of these people, right?
Also es beschreibt jetzt hier diese Eigenschaften dieser Leute, die hier bestraft werden.
Verse 14.
Jetzt Vers 14.
And Enoch also, the seventh from Adam, prophesied of these, saying, Behold, the Lord cometh with 10,000s of his saints to execute judgment upon all, and to convince all that are ungodly among them of their ungodly deeds which they have ungodly committed, and of all their hard speeches which ungodly sinners have spoken against it. Right?
Bis Vers 15.
So this execution of judgment in our line here would take place right here, right?
Also die Vollstreckung des Gerichts auf unserer Linie würde dann hier passieren.
Right?
Richtig?
Okay, it's the end of this 2 times of trouble, right?
Das ist das Ende dieser ersten Zeit des Friedens.
And the time of trouble is where God is testing and proving you to see whether you stand fast in His truth.
Und die Zeit der Trübsal ist ja letztendlich dann die Zeit, wo der Herr dich prüft und schaut, ob du jetzt wirklich standhaft bleibst.
Okay, and right here, that was prefigured by 9/11, he executes judgment.
Und
Right?
genau hier, vorausgeschattet durch den 11. September, wird er das Gericht vollstrecken.
Okay, so back to Ezekiel 23.
zurück zu Hesekiel 23.
Now, right here, when he's executing judgment upon this movement, out of it will come a remnant, right?
Also genau hier, wo er das Gericht in dieser Bewegung vollstrecken wird, daraus wird ja ein Überrest hervorgehen.
And the remnant will enter into the land, right?
Und dieser Überrest, der wird ins Land einkehren.
Okay, because it says they both grow together until the harvest, right?
Und es sagt er, sie werden beide zusammenwachsen bis zur Ernte.
So, regardless of how we want to view it, we're all classed as one movement. Everybody outside of this movement looks as upon us all the same, right?
Also ganz gleich, wie viele Lager es jetzt momentan gibt, wir sind alle noch eine Bewegung.
Right. Okay,
Alle
so
Außenseiter, die schauen auf uns als eine Bewegung.
but what's the command to God's people that come into the land?
Aber was ist das Gebot für Gottes Volk, wenn sie in das Land eintreten?
Don't forget
Yes, don't forget, but don't forget what happened here, right?
Also vergiss den Herrn nicht, aber vor allem vergiss nicht, was hier passiert ist.
So not to forget the past experience,
Sie
right?
sollen ihre vergangene Erfahrung nicht vergessen.
You're not to forget the judgment that get brought upon those that turn from Him, and also not to forget the blessing that was poured upon you right here.
Wir
Right?
sollen das Gericht nicht vergessen, was über die Verächter der Gnade hier ergangen ist, aber auch nicht die Segnungen vergessen, die über die Treuen hier gekommen ist.
So, back to Ezekiel 23, verse 10.
Gehen wir jetzt zurück zu Hesekiel 23, Vers 10.
So, the Assyrians, who's the Assyrians?
Wer sind die Assyrer?
Prophetically speaking,
Prophetisch gesprochen.
No.
the north, right?
Der Norden.
Okay, and it's the north that's going to execute judgment upon God's people, right?
Und es ist ja der Norden, der das Gericht über Gottes Volk vollstreckt.
Right? It was the north, Rome, that burned Jerusalem.
Es war der Norden, Rom, die Jerusalem oder verbrannt haben.
Okay, so and we know that Assyria and Rome and Egypt and all these Babylon, they all represent the same symbol. They're the civil powers that execute judgment, right?
Und wir wissen, Assyrien, Rom oder Ägypten stellen alle dasselbe dar. Sie sind diese Staatsmächte, die jetzt hier das Gericht vollstrecken.
So verse 10,
Vers 10 nochmal.
these, meaning the civil powers,
Also diejenigen, diese Staatsmächte,
discovered her nakedness. They took her sons and her daughters and slew her with the sword. And she became famous among women, for they had executed judgment upon her. Now, there's no new thing at the end of the world, right?
und es gibt ja nichts Neues hier am Ende der Welt, stimmt's?
So, where was there a fanatical movement that was an offshoot from Adventism got dealt by fire by the state powers?
Also wo gab es eine fanatische Bewegung, die letztendlich so eine Seitenbewegung war im Adventismus, die dann letztendlich durch die Staatsmächte mit Feuer verbrannt wurde?
Yeah, Waco,
Das
right?
war Waco.
And they surrounded Waco, right?
Und sie haben damals Waco auch umlagert, richtig?
And none of them were getting out of there, right?
Und keiner von denen ist da rausgekommen.
In fact, they burned those buildings down, right?
Ja, sie haben letztendlich diese Gebäude wirklich niedergebrannt.
And there's no new thing at the end of the world,
Und
right?
es gibt nichts Neues hier am Ende der Welt, stimmt's?
So, we should very much consider this, right?
Das sollten wir wirklich ernst nehmen.
But it's in verse 11, right?
Aber jetzt Vers 11.
Now remember that we're marking this point that when this group here enters into the land, it's not the perfect fulfillment. Who's still amongst them?
Denkt dran, wenn diese Leute hier in das Land eintreten, wer ist immer noch unter ihnen?
Mixed multitude.
Okay, yes, in that sense, right. But Judas, right? Prophetically speaking, Judas is still there,
Also
right?
die gemischte Menge, die wird sich denen hier anschließen, aber prophetisch gesehen, Judas ist immer noch unter der kleinen betenden Schar.
Okay, so because it says here in verse 11,
Es sagt jetzt hier in Vers 11,
and when her sister Aholibah saw this, she was more corrupt in her inordinate love than she, and in her whoredoms, more than her sister in her whoredoms. Now, why does it say she was more corrupt?
Warum sagt es hier, sie war noch korrupter?
She can receive more light, therefore.
Yes, because she receives the exceeding bright light right here, right?
Weil sie hier das überaus helle Licht erhalten hatte Mitternacht.
I mean, it's like just make sure. Yeah, Ananias and Sapphira. Why were they so guilty before God?
Ananias und Sapphira, warum waren sie so schuldig vor Gott?
Well, they had received the blessing of Pentecost, right?
Sie haben letztendlich die Segnung des Pfingstens erhalten.
Okay, and it shows us that the Lord dealt very severely with them, right?
Und die Bibel zeigt ja, dass der Herr sehr streng mit ihnen gehandelt hat.
So, verse 12.
Vers 12.
She doted upon the Assyrians and neighbors, captains and rulers, clothed most gorgeously, horsemen riding upon horses, all of them desirable young men. Then I saw that she was defiled, that they took her both one way, and that she increased her whoredoms. For when she saw men portrayed upon the wall the images of the Chaldeans poured with vermilion, girded with girdles upon their loins, exceeding in dyed attire upon their heads, all of them princes to look to after the manner of the Babylonians of Chaldea, the land of their nativity. And as soon as she saw them with her eyes, she doted upon them, and sent messengers unto them into Chaldea. And the Babylonians came to her into the bed of love, and they defiled her with their whoredoms, and she was polluted with them, and her mind was alienated from them. So she discovered her whoredoms, and discovered her nakedness. Then my mind was alienated from her, like as my mind was alienated from her sister.
Bis Vers 18.
Right? So basically, it's speaking about two different sects, if you want to put it, from the same church.
Also es spricht letztendlich von zwei verschiedenen Sekten oder, sag ich mal, Glaubensgemeinschaften von derselben Gemeinde. Glaubensgruppierungen.
Right. But the second one that sees the judgment come upon the first one is worse than her sister because she's had more light.
Aber die zweite Gruppierung, die das Gericht über die erste Gruppierung miterlebt, die wird letztendlich schlimmer handeln, weil sie an sich mehr Licht gehabt hat als die erste Gruppe.
Okay, so we've been warned, and all history shows us that when they go into the land, they corrupt themselves, and right here, we're told that don't deceive yourselves, Babylon will return. It's a seeming time of peace, right?
Deswegen, es zeigt uns ja, dass wenn sie in das Land eintreten, ja, dass sie sich selbst korrumpieren werden. Und letztendlich, hier sagt er, verführt euch nicht, täuscht euch nicht, die Babylonier werden zurückkommen. Das ist nur eine scheinbare Zeit des Friedens.
Okay, so, okay, now go to Ezekiel 16.
Jetzt gehen wir zu Hesekiel 16.
In verse 1.
Hesekiel 16, Vers 1.
It says, Again the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, cause Jerusalem to know her abominations. Who's this now speaking to?
Bis Vers 2. An wen wird das hier gerichtet?
Aholibah.
Right, why is it speaking to Aholibah?
Ich spreche jetzt hier über Aholibah. Und warum?
We read that she's Jerusalem.
Okay, because Aholah was Samaria and Aholibah was Jerusalem.
Wir haben ja gelesen, Aholah war Samarien und Aholibah war Jerusalem. Und hier geht es über Jerusalem.
Now just read down through this and see if we can...
Werden wir das jetzt hier lesen und versuchen, das besser zu verstehen.
And say, Thus saith the Lord God unto Jerusalem, Thy birth and thy nativity is of the land of Canaan, and thy father was an Amorite, and thy mother an Hittite. And as for thy nativity, in the day that thou wast born, thy navel was not cut, neither was thou washed in water to supple thee, thou was not salted at all, nor swaddled at all. Now remember,
Bis Vers 4.
Aholibah and Aholah both came from the same mother, right?
Denkt dran, also Aholah und Aholibah, die kamen beide von derselben Mutter.
And I would suggest that the mother is the Seventh-day Adventist Church, right?
Ich möchte vorschlagen, die Mutter ist die Siebenten-Tags-Adventisten-Gemeinde,
Which is also corrupt, right?
die auch korrupt ist.
So, and it's speaking about a point where this sister, Jerusalem, gets born, right?
Und es spricht dann jetzt hier über diesen Punkt, wo diese Schwester hier, nämlich Jerusalem, geboren wird.
Now, verse 5, I think, give us a
Vers 5.
clue for that. It says, "None I pitied thee to do any of these unto thee, to have compassion upon thee, but thou wast cast out in the open field to the loathing of thy person in the day that thou was born." Okay, so what's that? I mean, based upon studies that we've done lately, what does it tell us?
Also basierend auf Studien, die wir vor kurzem durchgeführt haben, was sagt uns Vers 5 hier?
Cast out the synagogue.
Okay,
Cast out the church.
yeah, he cast out the church. Now, where did we just mark that in the last few days?
Wir sind hier aus den Synagogen ausgestoßen worden und also ausgeschlossen worden. Wo haben wir das in den letzten Tagen markiert?
Midnight or the final.
Yes, but why?
So Mitternacht oder an der finalen
This
Untersuchung. Aber
way
warum?
mark, right?
Also jetzt hier
And why? Why did we come to that conclusion?
Mitternacht. Warum sind wir zu dieser Schlussfolgerung gekommen?
It was only like 2 days ago. Why?
Das,
That's such an important point. You can't remember, you can't forget these things. Why?
The judgment of the congregation. Because
No, I'm not asking what would, I'm saying why?
warum?
Because they want to disenfranchise themselves from this movement because of their false prophecy.
Whose false prophecy?
Well, we just established that the world look they look at this movement as one. So
No. This is speaking about Jerusalem right here. Not speaking about.
well, I know what this is speaking about, but you're asking the
But-
question why the church would cast us out. They see us as one. They don't differentiate between Jeff's group and this group. So when Jeff's false prophecy
But it's got nothing to do with Jeff's false prophecy. That's not the point of contention right here.
it's the close of probation.
Also es,
You're not born when Jeff makes a false prophecy.
no.
Okay, but that's when it's talking about. It's talking about your birth right here.
No, I can see that.
So you're not cast out when Jeff makes a false prophecy.
Psalm 16.
No, you're,
that's where the true prophecy.
it's where the true prophecy comes.
Also also wenn die wahre Vorhersage eintritt, dann werden sie uns letztendlich ausstoßen.
So this has got nothing to do with them. This is about Jerusalem, right? And therefore it's about what you do that's going to cause you to be cast out.
Also es spricht hier über Jerusalem und hat also nichts zu tun mit Jeffs Lager, sondern es geht darum, was du tust und warum sie dich dann ausstoßen werden.
Okay, because your prophecy is going to, when that prophecy comes true, right? We have to believe that it is going to come true, right?
Und wenn diese Vorhersage eintritt, und wir müssen glauben, dass sie auch eintreten wird,
You're going to get lifted up. The church has to make a choice. Are you associated with these right here?
da wirst du ja erhoben und dann muss die offizielle Gemeinde eine Entscheidung treffen. Ja, seid ihr mit denen irgendwie zusammen oder nicht?
But they're going to have nothing to do with you, right?
Und sie wollen nichts mit dir zu tun haben.
Okay, so I'm just making this suggestion, right? And we'll see there's some confirmations as we go through, right? That it's right here where you're cast out, right?
Also ich möchte diesen Vorschlag also machen, dass es genau hier ist, wo man dann hinausgestoßen wird.
Okay, it says, "None I pitied thee to do any of these unto thee, to have compassion upon thee, but thou wast cast out in the open field to the loathing of thy person in the day that thou wast born." And the day that you're born is the day that the exceeding bright light comes upon you, right?
Der Tag deiner Geburt ist der Tag, wo dieses überaus helle Licht über dich kommt.
And when the exceeding bright light comes, it marks the point when the prophecy comes true, right?
Das überaus helle Licht markiert ja den Punkt, wo die Vorhersage eingetreten ist.
And when I passed by thee and saw thee polluted in thine own blood, I said unto thee, when thou was in thy blood, live. Yea, I said unto thee, when thou was in thy blood, live. Okay,
Das ist
now
Vers 6.
why is that important right here? What we've been studying this over the past few days also.
Warum ist das wichtig hier? Das haben wir über die letzten Tage auch studiert.
Ezekiel 34.
What, sorry, Margaret?
Ezekiel 34.
Okay, yeah, what about Ezekiel 34?
Hesekiel 34 und was...
Something's taking your mind there. What's it got to do with what we've just read right there?
Also was ist die Verbindung hier zu Hesekiel 34?
Gathering with us. It's the promise of the Lord to gather.
Okay, yes, but what's it got to do with what we just read there? Sorry?
No, 34.
Yes, in some sense. It's basically where life enters into you, right?
Also das Leben kommt in dich.
In fact, just let's see if we can find it in this. Margaret mentioned Ezekiel 34. Let's quickly go there.
Gehen wir zu Hesekiel 34.
Okay. Says something about maybe it wasn't here, but MD. I know that we read it that day. Maybe it was in the quotes that we read, but it was in relation to Ezekiel 34.
Well, maybe John 10 says that they have more the life abundantly. It was connected, that I remember.
Okay, just in fact, just go to verse 22 in Ezekiel 34.
Gehen wir zu Vers 22.
It says, "Therefore will I save my flock, and they shall no more be a prey, and I will judge between cattle and cattle, and I will set up one shepherd over them, and he shall feed them, even my servant David, he shall feed them, and shall be their shepherd. And I, the Lord, will be their God, and my servant David a prince among them, as I, the Lord, have spoken it. And I will make with them a covenant of peace, and will cause the evil beast to cease out of the land, and they shall dwell safely in the wilderness and sleep in the woods." Okay, so
Das ist Vers 25.
it says, okay, in verse 22, "I will save my flock," right? But the point is, I'm sure we read it that he was. You want to read it, Fiona?
Can I ask what was the question that we're hearing?
I said, ask what the relation was to verse 6 that we read in Ezekiel 16.
Also die Frage war, was war der Bezug zu dem, was wir in Vers 6 gelesen haben in Hesekiel 16? Oder worauf nimmt das Bezug?
You want to read, Fiona? Oh.
Das Zitat ist in der Livestream-Gruppe.
John says, "I saw another angel come down from heaven with great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. Then, as at the Pentecostal season, the people will hear the truth spoken to them, every man in his own tongue.
Okay.
God can breathe new life into every soul that sincerely desires to serve Him, and can touch his lips with a live coal from the altar, and cause them to become eloquent with His praise. Thousands of voices will be imbued with the power to speak forth the wonderful truth of God. The stammering tongue will be loosed, and the timid will be made strong to bear courageous testimony of the truth. May the Lord help His people to cleanse the soul temple from every defilement, and to maintain so close a connection with Him that they may partakers of the latter rain when it shall be put."
So the key there is that he breathes new life into them, right?
Der Schlüssel ist hier,
That
dass
was the point.
ein neues Leben in sie haucht.
So when you go back to Ezekiel 16, verse 6,
What is the connection with Ezekiel 34? This quote.
because it's the same point in time. That's when you get brought into the land, right?
Yes.
So the quote is that's when the latter rain's poured out, when he touches your lips, breathes new life into you.
Yes.
It's a covenant.
Okay,
Okay.
that's the key.
Okay, also der Bezug zwischen Ezekiel 16 und das, was wir jetzt in Ezekiel 34 und dem Zitat hier gelesen haben, ist einfach ja, der Zeitpunkt, dass es alles hier bei derselben Wegmarke passiert.
I just know that we went through this other day and we brought many things together on this way map. But it says here in verse 6.
Er sagt uns jetzt hier in Vers 6,
And when I passed by thee and saw thee polluted in thine own blood, I said unto thee, when thou was in thy blood, live. Yeah, I said unto thee, when thou was in thine blood, live. So the Lord's breathing new life into you. This is marking this point where you receive the latter rain.
also der Herr, der haucht jetzt neues Leben in dich hinein, das ist der Punkt, wo du den Spätregen erhältst.
So it says, I have caused thee to multiply as the bud of the field. So the question is, does the movement, the little praying company, multiply from this point forward?
Die Frage ist jetzt, wird die Bewegung, die kleine betende Schar hier sich vermehren in dieser kleinen Zeit des Friedens?
Yes.
Yes, many other stories are shown this, right?
Das ist ja basiert auf vielen anderen Geschichten gezeigt.
I've caused thee to multiply as the bud of the field, and thou hast increased and waxen great, and thou art come to excellent ornaments. Thy breasts are fashioned, and thine hair is grown, whereas thou was naked and bare. Now when I passed by thee and looked upon thee, behold, thy time was the time of love. And I spread my skirt over thee, and covered thy nakedness, yea, I swear unto thee, and entered into a covenant with thee, saith the Lord God, and thou becamest mine. What's the word covenant also mean?
Also was ist hier in Vers 8 dieses Wort Bündnis?
Promise.
League, right?
Das ist ein Bund.
So there's this, we know that he breaks his covenant with one group and remakes a new covenant with another, right?
Wir wissen, dass er einen Bund hier mit einer Gruppe bricht und einen neuen Bund hier mit einer weiteren Gruppe aufrichtet.
Okay, so we know he's going to make a covenant with you right there. It says, verse 9, Then washed I thee with water, yea, I thoroughly washed away thy blood from thee, and I anointed thee with oil. What's that way mark?
Vers 9, was markiert diese Wegmarke?
Baptism.
The anointing of Christ, right?
Yes.
Das ist die Salbung von Jesus.
Right, so, and several, we've also got Cyrus marked that way mark, he's the anointed one, etc., etc.
Kyros, der hier in der Wegmarke markiert ist, er ist der Gesalbte und so weiter und so fort.
So it says, I clothed thee also with broidered work, and shod thee with badger skin, and I girded thee about with fine linen. I covered thee with silk, I decked thee also with ornaments, and I put bracelets upon thy hands, and chain upon thy neck. I put a jewel on thy forehead, and earrings in thine ears, and a beautiful crown upon thine head. Thus wast thou decked with gold and silver, and thy raiment was of fine linen, and silk, and broidered work. Thou didst eat fine flour, and honey, and oil, and thou was exceeding beautiful, and thou didst prosper into a kingdom. So, what does this woman have on?
Bis Vers 13, also was trägt diese Frau hier?
Wedding gown.
She has on the wedding garment, the crown, right?
Sie hat das Hochzeitsgewand an und auch die Krone.
And what are you to enter into right there?
Und worin sollst du hier eintreten?
The refuge, right?
In die Zufluchtsstadt.
What's your entrance? What is your entrance card into the refuge city?
Und was ist deine Eintrittskarte in diese Zufluchtsstadt?
The wedding gown.
The wedding gown, right?
Das Hochzeitsgewand.
Now, just go to Revelation 12.
Gehen wir zu Offenbarung 12.
Now I'm just making arguments to see this. I'm also open if it's not correct. But
Jetzt einfach nur ein paar Punkte vorbringen, um das selbst besser zu verstehen und offen das auch noch anders zu sehen.
it says, there appeared, verse 1,
Vers 1.
there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. Right? who is this?
Wer ist das hier?
Or where would we place this?
Wo würden wir das markieren?
At the midnight cry.
Am
Right?
Mitternachtsruf.
And last night we're putting in place that there's a temple cleansing, temple cleansing, temple cleansing, temple cleansing, right?
Gestern Abend haben wir einen Platz gesetzt, dass es hier jeweils eine Tempelreinigung gibt.
So what happens at a temple cleansing?
Und was passiert bei einer Tempelreinigung?
Blessing and curse.
Sorry?
Blessing and curse.
Yes, but yes, that's true. But okay, so one gets a blessing, one gets a curse, right? So there's two classes, right?
Segen und Fluch. Es gibt letztendlich zwei Gruppen. Die eine Gruppe erhält den Segen, die anderen den Fluch.
And the remnant always, when you go through the Bible, it's always been one church. It's not, the Lord never raised up a different church independent of the one that He already had, right?
Also dieser Überrest ist ja immer Teil von einer Gemeinde, die er zuvor hatte. Also der Herr richtet nicht irgendwie eine Gruppe auf, die irgendwie überhaupt gar nicht mit seiner vorherigen Volk zu tun hat.
Right? So let's just say if you got a ball here, the church, the next one comes out of that one, and it is constantly doing this, right? So this comes out of this comes out of this comes out of this comes out of this, and so on, right?
Also letztendlich, das ist die Originalgemeinde, dann diejenigen, der Überrest kommt daraus, der Überrest kommt daraus, der Überrest kommt daraus und so weiter und so fort.
Okay? So the church is not the organization, the church is the truth that the group that always gets cast out carries forward with it down through time. So the lineage is just one lineage all the way to the end, right?
Also die Gemeinde ist letztendlich nicht diese Organisation, sondern es sind diejenigen, die die Wahrheit tragen und die dann letztendlich auch ausgestoßen werden, und deswegen ist es immer diese eine Linie, die vorwärts geht.
Okay, so for instance, right, when the Sunday law comes, right, there will be a movement, right?
Also wenn das Sonntagsgesetz kommt, da wird es eine Bewegung geben, richtig?
Where will the movement come from?
Und wo wird die Bewegung herkommen?
From the church.
From the church, right?
Aus der Gemeinde.
And as that movement goes forward and other people will join the movement, right? They get grafted into the church.
Und wenn die Bewegung vorwärts geht, dann werden andere Leute dieser Bewegung sich anschließen und sie werden sozusagen in die Gemeinde eingepfropft werden.
You come to the next testing point, and out of that comes a group, and they're now the church. It's always the truth being passed down to the next group, and so on and so forth.
Und
Right?
dann kommt der nächste Testpunkt und letztendlich daraus geht wieder die Leute hervor, die die Wahrheit festhalten.
Okay, so we know that we've had this movement going down through this time here, right?
Und diejenigen, die die Wahrheit festhalten, sind dann die Gemeinde. Und wir wissen ja, dass es hier diese Bewegung dann gibt, die hier in dieser Zeit vorwärts geht
Right.
oder vorwärts ging.
And right here, there's going to be a separation.
Und genau hier, Mitternacht, wird es eine Trennung geben.
One group will go forward. They will now be classed as the apple of God's eye.
Eine Gruppe wird hier vorwärts gehen, sie werden jetzt als Gottes Augapfel bezeichnet werden.
Right? And as we read there, the one that he enters into covenant with, he puts upon her this garment, puts a crown on her head. Right?
Und wir haben ja dann gelesen, diejenigen, die vorwärts gehen, über die wird der Herr jetzt ein Gewand ausbreiten und die Krone auf ihr Haupt tun.
So when we get here, the same thing's going to happen again. This movement that comes in here tells us quite clearly that this movement is going to become corrupted.
Und wenn wir hier zum Mitternachtruf kommen, dann wird sozusagen vom Prinzip dasselbe passieren, denn die Bibel sagt uns sehr deutlich, dass in dieser kleinen Zeit des Friedens diese Bewegung, die jetzt hier vorwärts geht, wieder verdorben wird.
So, from prophecy, how does the Lord discover who was corrupted?
Und basierend auf der Prophetie, wie hat der Herr immer herausgefunden, wer sich korrumpiert hat?
Manifest account.
No, that's not what I'm asking. How does he discover?
Have to
In prophecy, it's shown how he does it.
Also in der Prophetie wird uns das gezeigt. Wie entdeckt der Herr, wer verdorben ist und wer nicht?
Test.
the husband brings his wife, right, and brings her before the priest, and he makes her drink the cup, right?
Der Ehemann bringt seine Ehefrau vor den Priester und sie muss diesen Kelch trinken.
Right? So this cup right here, which is the cross, is going to reveal whether you've been an adulteress or not, right?
Also dieser Kelch, was auf das Kreuz ist, wird dann offenbaren, ob du eine Ehebrecherin bist oder eben nicht.
But who has to drink the cup?
Aber wer muss diesen Kelch trinken?
Everybody.
Jeder.
Evil and good have to drink the cup, right?
Sowohl gut als auch böse.
But it will reveal whether or not you were true to his principles or not, right?
Und das wird dann offenbaren, ob du treu seinen Prinzipien warst oder eben nicht.
So when we go back to Ezekiel 16,
Zurückgehen zu Hesekiel 16.
it's speaking about this movement that's going to get corrupted in here and what he's going to do to her, right?
Spricht also über diese Bewegung, die dann hier sich verdorben hat und was der Herr dann mit dieser Bewegung tun wird hier.
Can't get round it, right?
Wir können nicht um diesen Test herumkommen.
You know, he says, I've always have 7,000 that have not bowed the knees to Baal. It's a principle, right?
Und Gott sagt, ich habe immer diese 7000, die ihre Knie nicht vor dem Baal gebeugt haben. Das ist ein Prinzip.
And how did he demonstrate to Satan that the world was not his?
Und wie hat er dem Teufel gezeigt, dass die Welt nicht ihm gehören würde?
Job said,
Durch Hiob.
wait a minute. You're right. My church is as corrupt can be. But have you seen my servant Job, right?
In dem Sinne, er hat gesagt, ja, du magst recht haben, dass meine Gemeinde total verdorben ist, aber hast du da meinen Knecht Hiob gesehen?
So the Lord always glorifies his name, even though his organization always becomes corrupted.
Der Herr, der verherrlicht immer seinen Namen, ganz gleich, dass diese offizielle Organisation immer sich verderbt.
So really there's no excuse for any of us to fulfill this, what it's talking about here, right?
Deswegen, es gibt absolut gar keine Entschuldigung für irgendjemand von uns hier, das hier zu erfüllen, was hier beschrieben ist.
We've got all the histories of the past showing us that it always happens, right?
Wir haben all die Geschichten der Vergangenheit, die uns zeigen, dass das immer passiert ist.
And he's got telling us about the future, what's going to happen before it comes to pass,
Und
right?
der Herr sagt uns schon bereits die Zukunft voraus, was da passieren wird, bevor es eigentlich eingetreten ist.
And you've got this history that you've just gone through right behind you, right?
Und wir haben dann auch diese Geschichte hier, durch die wir hindurchgegangen sind, die unmittelbar hinter uns liegt.
But nonetheless, it's going to come to pass,
Aber
right?
nichtsdestotrotz wird es eintreten.
Now, go back there, right? It says, so the point that I'm making is that right here, he puts upon you the crown and the fine linen, and you enter into the refuge city, right?
Genau hier legt er diese Krone auf dich und diese feine Leinwand und du trittst in die Stadt ein.
But when we were looking at the refuge city the other day, what happens at a later time? Who comes here?
Aber als wir uns diese Zufluchtsstadt vor ein paar Tagen angeschaut haben, wer kommt dann hier?
Revenge.
Yes, 40, Christ gets baptized, 40 days he's in the wilderness. Who comes?
Also es kommt dieser Bluträcher hier. Christus wird hier getauft, 40 Tage ist in der Wüste und wer kommt am Ende der 40 Tage?
Satan comes down, right?
Satan kommt herab.
Comes as an angel of light, right?
Kommt als ein Engel des Lichts.
And he's going to try and tempt you out of that refuge city.
Und er
Right?
versucht dich aus dieser Zufluchtsstadt herauszubringen.
But all those that were not careful in this time period, right? The congregation's going to judge them and they're going to be cast out, right?
Und alle, die also in dieser Zeit hier nicht sorgsam und achtsam waren, die werden dann hier letztendlich herausgestoßen werden durch dieses Gericht der Versammlung.
So when you come to Revelation 12, it's talking about the true people of God that are part of this thing right here, right? And showing how they're about to give birth, right?
Also in Offenbarung 12, wo diese Frau jetzt markiert es also diejenigen, die hier treu sind und die dann letztendlich dabei sind zu gebären.
So just like this little group that's going to come out of this movement here will have on the wedding garment, it's, when you get to Revelation 12, it's just showing you the exact same thing being repeated. Right?
Deswegen letztendlich für diese kleine Gemeinschaft hier, die letztendlich hier rauskommt, sieht man hier in Offenbarung 12 genau dasselbe Konzept, wie sich das wiederholt.
Okay, now come over now to verse 22.
Gehen wir jetzt zu Vers 22.
It says, and in all thine abominations and thy whoredoms thou hast not remembered the days of thy youth. What's it telling us right there?
Was sagt uns das hier in Vers 22?
Past experience.
They've forgotten their past experience, right?
Sie haben ihre vergangene Erfahrung vergessen.
Deuteronomy 48 says, remember when you go into the land, don't forget this, right?
5. Mose Kapitel 4 bis Kapitel 8 sagt ja, erinnert euch dran, vergisst das ja nicht.
Thou hast not remembered the days of thy youth when thou wast naked and bare and wast polluted in thy blood. And it came to pass after all thy wickedness, woe, woe unto thee, saith the Lord God. Where is it pointing to?
Das Vers 23, worauf weist das hin?
The second woe, the midnight cry, right? Woe, woe.
Zweite Wehe, hier bitte noch zu.
And woe, woe is the French Revolution and also the four winds being loosed there in Revelation 9, right?
Also die zweite Wehe ist ja unter anderem die französische Revolution, aber auch die vier Winde, die in Offenbarung 9 gelöst werden.
Right? You can see my reasons why I'm thinking along this line, right? But
Ihr könnt also meine Gedanken erkennen, warum ich sozusagen in dieser Linie denke.
but we're going to jump now across to verse 45.
Also gehen wir jetzt zu Vers 45.
So it says, "Thou art thy mother's daughter, and loatheth her husband and her children, and thou art the sister of thy sisters, which loathe their husbands and their children. Your mother was a Hittite, and your father an Amorite, and thine elder sister is Samaria." Now remember, this is a judgment on Jerusalem, right?
Also bis Vers 46, denkt dran, diese Geschichte hier in Kapitel 16 ist ein Gericht über Jerusalem.
So in Ezekiel 23, we read that Jerusalem's elder sister, Aholah, was Samaria, right?
In Ezekiel 23 haben wir gelesen, die ältere Schwester von Jerusalem war Aholah, welche Samaria war.
So in verse 46, thine elder sister,
Vers 46, da ist auch die ältere Schwester Samaria.
okay, was Aholah, right?
Und das ist ja Aholah gewesen.
Thine elder sister is Aholah, she and her daughters that dwell at thy left hand, right? And thy younger sister that dwelleth at thy right hand is Sodom and her daughters. Okay, so now it mentions that you have two sisters, right?
Hier, das sagt uns jetzt, da gibt es zwei Schwestern.
Now, let's consider this, right?
Lass uns das betrachten.
So, the movement when it's going down from this point forward, it's all one movement, right?
Also die Bewegung, die vorwärts geht, hier von diesem Punkt, ist ja alles eine Bewegung.
Pretty much, Jeff was the figurehead of that movement, right?
Und Jeff war ja dann hier sozusagen diese Hauptperson dieser Bewegung.
So I would suggest that Samaria, okay, Aholah, represents that movement as its whole, right?
Also ich würde vorschlagen, dass Aholah sozusagen diese Bewegung dann als Gesamtheit darstellt.
So here you have the time of Aholah, right?
Also hier haben wir jetzt diese Zeit von Aholah.
But right here, this separation takes place, and that she's your older sister, right? Because the younger sister, right? So a younger church, one that's formed after that time, is Aholibah, right?
Und dann findet hier in Mitternacht ja diese Trennung statt. Und dann kommt die jüngere Schwester statt, also etwas, was nach der älteren geformt worden ist. Das ist dann Aholibah.
And if you just keep your place there, go back to Ezekiel 23.
Haltet euren Finger jetzt hier, gehen wir nochmal zurück zu Hesekiel 23.
Okay, now I'm just looking for this point. It says that she's done. You've done worse than your sister, it says. Go back there. Yes. So verse 11, thanks for that.
Vers 11.
And when her sister Aholibah saw this, she was more corrupt in her inordinate love than she, and in her whoredoms. Right? So, and just to confirm the thought that we were looking at before, it says, go to verse 32 in Ezekiel 23. 31 even.
Vers 31.
It says, thou hast walked in the way of thy sister, therefore will I give her cup into thine hand. Right? And her cup was when she got destroyed right here. Right?
Der Kelch war, als sie hier zerstört wurden.
Therefore will I give her cup into thine hand. Thus saith the Lord God, thou shalt drink of thy sister's cup deep and large. Thou shalt be laughed to scorn, and had in derision it containeth much. Thou shalt be filled with drunkenness and sorrow, with the cup of astonishment and desolation, with the cup of thy sister Samaria. Right?
Vers 33.
Okay, so now go back to Ezekiel 16,
Zurück zu Hesekiel 16 jetzt.
verse 46.
Vers 46.
It says, and thine elder sister is Aholah, which is Samaria, right?
Die ältere Schwester ist Samaria.
And Aholibah is Jerusalem.
Und Aholibah ist Jerusalem.
So this is, when we're reading here, Ezekiel 16, it's a prophecy against Jerusalem, right?
Und Hesekiel 16 ist ja eine Weissagung gegen Jerusalem.
So when you get to verse 46, it says, thine elder sister is Samaria. So here's Samaria, the elder sister.
Und
Right?
deine ältere Schwester Samaria, das ist jetzt hier.
She and her daughters that dwell at thy left hand, and thy younger sister that dwelleth at thy right hand is Sodom and her daughters. So there has to be another sister that comes, right, after you are formed, right?
Also es muss jetzt noch eine weitere Schwester geben, die auftritt, nachdem du, also Jerusalem, geformt ist.
So if you take Jeff as a symbol of the movement,
Also wenn wir jetzt Jeff als Symbol dieser Bewegung hier betrachten,
separation took place here, right, or in some sense.
fand eine Trennung hier in einem gewissen
From the
Sinne
truth.
statt.
Is there another sister that comes after that point?
Kam dann noch eine andere Schwester, die nach diesem Punkt kam. But it's the younger sister, right?
That's what I'm saying. Is there another sister comes after that point? She would be there for younger than you. That's what
But
I'm
it
saying.
says it's younger than Jerusalem.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
If Jerusalem comes here.
No, that you're just okay. If you want to mark it, but the separation is already there. That's only demonstrating who you are right here, right? Anyway, okay, you'll get my point. Maybe that's. It says, thine elder sister is Samaria, she and her daughters that dwell at thy left hand, and thy younger sister that dwelleth at thy right hand is Sodom and her daughters, right? So, the point is that these two sisters already existed before this time.
Der Punkt, den ich machen möchte, ist, dass diese zwei Schwestern schon vor dieser Zeit existiert haben.
Okay, so I would ask the question, who is when you go to this prophecy, if this is correct, what I'm saying, right? And here it's marked, you're marked as Jerusalem, you have this anointing and all the rest of it. These two other sisters already exist in this time period. It's just now mentioning them when you get here, right?
Also letztendlich, wenn ich das richtig verstehe, dann wenn du ja hier hinausgestoßen wirst und dieses Jerusalem sich manifestiert hier, dann existieren bereits diese zwei anderen Schwestern auch schon zu diesem Zeitpunkt, sie werden nur hier dann manifestiert.
Because he says you are as your sister Samaria. So it takes you back to this time period when, before your sister Samaria got judged. Maybe you're looking at this in a different way than me. But
Es bringt sich einfach hier zurück zu dem Zeitpunkt und sagt, hier, du bist jetzt wie deine Schwester Samaria geworden, die hier doch gerichtet worden ist.
okay, is there a difference between Jeff's group and Parminder's group?
Also gibt es da einen Unterschied zwischen Jeffs Gruppe und Parminders Gruppe?
Sure.
Many.
Okay, so which group do we class as Sodom?
Und welche Gruppe klassifizieren wir als Sodom?
Parminder's group. Why?
Parminders Gruppe. Warum?
The liberalistness.
Yes, because this is liberal into all this upholding all these gay rights and everything, right?
Das sind diese Liberalen, die sozusagen diese ganzen homosexuellen Rechte und so weiter hochhalten.
So, but verse 47, right?
Vers 47.
Yet hast thou not walked after their ways, nor done after their abominations. Yet hast thou not walked after their ways, nor done after their abominations, but as if that were a very little thing, thou wast corrupted more than they all in thy ways. Right? So it's just doing exactly the same as it was in Ezekiel 23. It's saying, you are more corrupt than your sister Samaria. Right?
Das sagt genau dasselbe wie in Hesekiel 23. Du bist korrupter geworden als deine Schwester Samaria.
But here it's just giving you more information. You are also more corrupt than your sister Sodom.
Und hier gibt es noch weitere Informationen. Gott sagt, du warst auch noch oder bist auch noch verderbter geworden als deine Schwester Sodom.
But like I say, I'm open. If you've got a better explanation of that, then that's fine.
Aber ich bin noch offen, wenn man eine bessere Erklärung dazu findet, dann das ist gut.
Because it says, behold, this was the iniquity of thy sister Sodom. Pride, fullness of bread, and abundance of idleness was in her, and in her daughters. Neither did she strengthen the hand of the poor and needy. So, when were they dealt with?
Das ist Vers 49. Wann sind sie sozusagen abgehandelt worden?
Because verse 50 it says, and they were haughty and committed abomination before me, therefore I took them away as I saw good. So,
Vers 50.
who's it referring to?
Auf wen nimmt es hier Bezug?
Sodom.
Sodom.
So it's telling you at this time, when you commit this thing, he's pointing you back to your sister Sodom that he'd already taken away, right?
Also es spricht letztendlich über diese Zeit, wo letztendlich du hinweggenommen wirst, beziehungsweise wo Jerusalem jetzt hinweggetan wird. Da hat er bereits schon Sodom weggetan zuvor.
Then it says, neither hath Samaria committed half of thy sins, but thou hast multiplied thine abominations more than they, and hast justified thy sisters in all thine abominations which thou hast done. Thou also which hast judged thy sisters, what have you done?
Was hast du gemacht?
Judged your sisters.
Du hast deine Schwestern gerichtet.
And when do you partake in the judging work?
Wann nimmst du Anteil an dem Gerichtswerk?
Yes, in this 1,000 years of right?
1000 Jahre des Friedens.
Okay. So, thou also which hast judged thy sisters, bear thine own shame, for thy sins that thou hast committed, more abominable than they are more righteous than thou. Yea, be thou confounded also, and bear thy shame, in that thou hast justified thy sisters. And then, just go to the last bit that we read.
Das von Vers 52 haben wir gelesen. Und jetzt gehen wir.
Verse.
Makes sense. No.
Yes, you got to see all the little pieces, right? Verse 55.
Vers 55.
When thy sisters Sodom and her daughters shall return to their former estate, and Samaria and her daughters shall return to their former estate. So what's the promise right here?
Also was ist jetzt hier die Verheißung?
Come on, guys, it's not difficult. What's the promise?
Okay, come back.
Is the promise that those that were part of these two movements, the ones, you know, the sheep, he's going to save some of them, right?
Das ist die Verheißung, dass welche, die Teil von diesen beiden anderen Lagern waren, dass er einige von ihnen noch retten wird. Das sind diese verlorenen Schafe.
It says, so when they return to their former estate, then thou and thy daughters shall return to your former estate. So he's going to save from all of those three groups, he's going to save some of them, right?
Also von all diesen drei Gruppen wird er einige retten.
For thy sister Sodom was not mentioned by thy mouth in the day of thy pride, before thy wickedness was discovered, as at the time of thy reproach of the daughters of Syria, and all that were round about her, the daughters of the Philistines, which despised thee round about. Thou hast borne thy lewdness and thine abominations, saith the Lord. For thus saith the Lord God, I will even deal with thee, as thou hast done, which despised the oath in breaking the covenant. Nevertheless, I will remember my covenant with thee in the days of thy youth, and I will establish unto thee an everlasting covenant. Then thou shalt remember thy ways and be ashamed. When thou shalt receive thy sisters, thine elder and thy younger, I will give them unto thee for daughters, but not by thy covenant. So it's
Das ist
just
Vers 61.
showing you that the ones that stay true, that bring in these lost sheep, you will all become one again.
Das
Right?
sagt uns letztendlich, diejenigen, die treu bleiben, die werden dann diese verlorenen Schafe einsammeln und alle werden wieder zu einer Bewegung werden.
Amen.
Mhm.
So I'm sure there's much we have to learn from that, but these are the reasons why I would look at it thus. It's always sort of been a bit of a mystery, some of those things, but here it makes the most sense. So
Also ich denke, wir müssen noch aus diesen Kapiteln viel lernen, aber letztendlich das ist so, was jetzt am meisten wirklich Sinn ergibt und ja, wir müssen das weiter betrachten.
but I know that we don't always see things the way that the Lord sees things. So like I say, I'm open to see that better, but the Lord will confirm that in time or not. Right?
Und ich weiß, dass wir Dinge nicht immer so sehen, wie der Herr sie sieht. Und deswegen müssen wir das weiter betrachten und der Herr wird es entweder bestätigen oder korrigieren.
So each person has to study that for themselves, right?
Jeder muss das jetzt für sich selbst ausstudieren.
Okay, shall we close in prayer?
Zum Gebet abschließen.